So, introduction. With increasing urbanization, waste management is a major global issue that governments face daily. The overproduction of waste has been causing negative impacts on our environment. Though over 25 years have passed since enactment of the first regulations on waste, attempts to develop regionally and intentionally harmonized waste management policies are still on progress. It is now clear that establishing a comprehensive system and creating adequate incentives for preventive management and proper cleanup worldwide have not yet been achieved. The best indicator of the quality of legislation is its efficiency. So, the imperfection of a waste legislation, common for the developed countries, comes from the too strong belief in the high level of public awareness as an instrument of proper control or waste disposal. So this can result in out of sight, out of mind, or not in my backyard practice, which leads to abortive solutions from the environmental and or economic point of view. This policy issue has not been fully solved through the years. Every individual always do they want, just throw from everywhere that no one sees. They become more unruly as the times come. They are not thinking what the result would be when they continue to throw it without thinking the cause of their action. Next is problem statement. How much do we know the improvement of waste in the surroundings of having mobilization of the society? Improper management can generated into a direct health impacts on the community, the personnel working in facilities and on the environment. In addition, environment polluted by an inadequate treatment of waste can cause indirect health effects to the community. According to Dr. Kumar, the major problems affecting solid waste management are unscientific treatment, improper collection of waste, and ethical problems. This in turn leads to hazards like environmental degradation, water pollution, soil pollution, and air pollution. The statement below is the problems encountered in the waste management. A growing population and economy, which means increased volumes of waste generated. This puts pressure on waste management facilities, which are already in short supply. A policy and regulatory environment that does not actively promote the waste management hierarchy. This has limited the economic potential of the waste management sector. Both waste collection and the recycling industry make meaningful contributions to job creation and GDP, and they can expand further. Growing pressure on outdated waste management infrastructure with declining levels of capital investment and maintenance. Waste management suffers from a pervasive underpricing, which means that the costs of waste management are not fully appreciated by consumers and industry. And waste disposal is preferred over the options.
Assemble evidence. In order to be consistent with sustainable development, solid waste management system must meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. This involves efficient management for today's waste while conserving resources and protecting the environment for current and future generations. The aim of this paper is to suggest and to discuss the policy of the instruments that could lead towards a more sustainable waste management. 1. The waste generator should avoid the waste generation as much as possible and to reduce the negative impacts of the waste on the environment and human life and health. 2. In waste management, after prior selection, the waste should be strictly processed by means of recycling, reuse, or other process for extraction of the secondary raw materials or use as a source of energy. 3. Waste management shall be considered a activity of public interest performed in accordance with the provision of this law and the regulation enacted on the basis of this law. And last, the waste collection and transportation should be performed by means and equipment specially designed and strictly intended for waste collection and transportation.
We have three construct alternative policies responses. First, assistance for teacher training or waste management. Environmental education should, therefore, be a fundamental and integral part of education for all members of society. Modern societies, both developed and developing, need environmental education in its formal and informal aspects. Knowledge of the environment, its conservation, and threats must be integrated with the development of sensitivity and respect for the natural environment and the formation of proper attitudes towards it. Fundamental education is therefore the kind of education aimed at realizing a sustainable living for mankind. We can share it through to the teachers to teach and give seminars and programs launched by the universities or elementaries to create the students' awareness of environmental and waste problems and to educate them how to practice environmentally responsible behaviors. Programs were also implemented to promote attitude and intention change and actively pursuing a sustainable environmental practices among the students. The attempt to encourage through education and awareness on managing solid waste in the campus that have been implemented that will show good and encouraging results as long as the persons and the organization have the ability to assimilate and interpret the knowledge and to convert this learning and into impact and to implement change in managing waste. It is hoped that knowledge will act as precursor to action. And the two alternative responses is to support for curriculum development on solid waste management and environmental issues. Students' awareness about environmental problems and solutions can be increased through education. It is expected that solid waste management activities in university or campus involve the students as part of their learning process. The skills and knowledge gained from environmental education would help in changing human behavior towards the environment. Students with some knowledge and skills on environmental education are more motivated to take part in environmental protection activities and plans. Thus, would generate new ideas for the solution of environmental problems, sharing new information from their activities with families, other adults, and community probably will have some positive implication on solid waste management practices. Although there are several literatures on solid waste management in terms of generation, influence, and socialization processes. However, the practical impacts on environmental education somewhat has been given little attention. And the third construct alternative policy responses is to incorporating environmental and solid waste management issues into curriculum for students of engineering, law, science, business, economics, and other disciplines. It is very important to increase environmental literacy to build public support for programs to train future generations of solid waste and environmental professionals. Many national and international policies can have a strong influence on solid waste management practices. It considers the effect of energy policy on the incentives for waste-to-energy facilities, transportation policy on freight charges for recycled materials, and agricultural policy on the uses of sludge as fertilizers or soil conditioners. Other examples include the effect of financial policy on investment into environmental technologies and military policies, effect on cleanup of defense installations. Solid management professionals must play a role assuring the solid waste management implication of these policies are assessed in national and international forums. Waste management involves a process whereby waste are collected, transported, and disposed of in the best possible way of limiting or eliminating the harmful effect of waste. These aspects of environmental management is as important as other public amenities or infrastructures without which the life of a contemporary man would be extremely difficult.
Recommendation: the best way to create awareness and to educate the students is the first alternative option, which is assistance for teacher training in the waste management. It is included the environmental education in the school educational system. This must be the leading approach to address the environmental problems and sustainable development. Knowledge and understanding of environment are important. Since a degraded environment means a lower quality of life, it is, therefore, the collective responsibility of all human beings to secure a healthy environment not only for present, but also for future generations. So building environmental on this principle becomes necessity. Any environmental program at the university must be rooted in the belief that the process of paying attention to the environment will have the greatest impact if it becomes integral part of the educational mission of the institution. The initiative offers a means to connect what happens in the classroom with what is happening immediately outside. Recycling alone will not earn a campus a clean bill of environmental health. Waste reduction and reuse are far more effective ways of reducing environmental impact, and the goal should be not reduction for campus waste stream, not simply more recycling. Yet, recycling is among the most visible, measurable, and enforceable of the environmentally sound practices that the campus can undertake. It is also important to make public the commitment of sustainable waste management since universities assume a special environmental responsibility in that they educate the future decision makers of the society. They take the multiplier function and therefore a significant responsibility. Environmental protection should be a responsibility of all students and employees.
This paper will apply the new policy from the alternatives recommendation that includes the guidelines for implementation. Basic requirements for improvement include the following: assessment of the situation, training or behavioral change, availability of equipment for the waste management, communication between organizations and the strengthening of activities, social, political, and economic conditions. Implementation requires institutional mechanisms and procedures in the transportation of waste is needed, such as motor to transport waste. In order to develop in a more sustainable direction, all sectors of society, including waste management, need to implement measures that can lead towards a more sustainable society. In order to control the activities, decision-making bodies implement specific policy instruments as well as issue documents stating general policy objectives. This interview happens in Facebook Messenger. We interviewed him via video call with my group mates about the sustainability of his co-barangay and how they implement of the waste management to the new normal setup. He is Mr. Eric Cabasisi. He is 58 years old. He has been working for more than 7 years. He is a staff utility man at the Barangay Calicanto, Batangas City. Sometimes he is tired of picking any trash in everywhere because of the rudeness of many people. Because of the lack of discipline of many people, they always check around like 7 a.m. in the morning and the afternoon duty. We asked him what the policy is they implement to prevent the waste in Barangay Calicanto. He said that they ensure the protection of the public health and environment, utilization of valuable resources, and encourage resources cons- conservation and recovery, set guidelines and targets for solid waste avoidance and volume reduction through source reduction and waste minimization measures, including composting, recycling, reuse, recovery, green charcoal process, and others before collection, treatment, and disposal in appropriate and environmentally sound solid waste management facilities in accordance with ecologically sustainable development principles.